I don't know what kind of urgent pushed me to do this, but I have got a natural science exam in Friday, and I would like to do a quick review on my notes and hope it gets into my brain. And this video will be mixed Turkish and English, so we can also consider this as a speaking practice, and let's make it quick. And I hope the video length is not more than 20 gigabytes, because I don't have any space left. Let's start with Galileo Galilei. There were problems with geocentric model, as math did not agree with observations. However, when clash occurred, the religious scripture prevailed. Let's take a look at what does scripture prevailed mean. I have no idea what this sentence means. Can I do that? Yes. I don't have that much knowledge about terminology, and I would like to know it in Turkish. Greek, Indian, and Muslim scholars had proposed a heliocentric, sun-centered solar system, but Western scholars continued to Aristotelian philosophy that the Earth was the center of the universe. So it's talking about geocentric model here. I believe that we have seen it previous lectures. So before Galileo Galilei, they didn't accept observation, did not agree with observation. There was problem with geocentric model. When clash occurred, çarpışma occurred, meydana geldi. Religious, dini, scripture, kutsal metin üstün geldi, hakim sürdü. Çarpışma meydana geldiğinde dini, kutsal metinler üstün geldi, hüküm sürdü. Why it's hard to understand maybe what this slide talking about? Example, on a moving ship, a cannonball is dropped from a mast. Mast ne demek? Mast ne demek? If observed from the shore, the cannonball will have two motions, a forward motion provided by the ship and a downward motion caused by the gravity. It has two motions relative to ordinary. A forward motion provided by the ship, so let's suppose there is a ship and going this way. Downward motion by gravity. Two motions here. If observed from ship, the cannon will have only one motion, the downward motion caused by the gravity. What is Galilean relativity? I have noted this. O zamanlar mantıklı değilmiş. It didn't make sense at that time interval. At that time dönem ne demek? Ona da bakalım. Dönem İngilizcesi, dönem devir İngilizcesi. period, area, age, area. We can do this actually. Area, lightning area, Galileo area. Nicolaus Copernicus, born in Poland, was educated as a mathematician and lived during the Reformation when the Christian Church became divided. Copernicus was a very unlikely revolutionary. However, the result of his insistence of scientific measurement as a source of truth might well have been the starting point of the coming scientific revolution. Bilimsel ölçümlere olan güvene bir bilimsel dönemin başlangıcı olabilirmiş. The result of insistence. Insistence nasıl demek? Insistence of scientific measurement. Burayı da çevirelim. Öğreniyoruz sonuçta. Kopyala. The result of his insistence of a scientific measurement as a source of truth might well have been the starting point of the coming scientific revelation. Bir gerçeklik kaynağı olarak bilimsel ölçüm konusundaki ısrarının sonucu. Insistence, ısrar. Yazalım şuraya. Da unutmayalım. Israr. Let's look at Copernicus. We have been doing it. İlk yaptığı şey, distribute ettikleri şeyler. Bakalım. Bunlar mı? İlk sunduğu şeyler. Good data, perhaps of Al-Battani, Al-Bruni, corrections to Ptolemaic astronomy, Ptolemaic, especially on the length of the year and the movement of the sun and moon. Improved mathematical models of planetary motion by modifying Ptolemaic system, removing the account and rotation of Earth tilted axis by Al-Tusi Al-Shar. Yani Al-Tusi mi yapmış, Al-Shatter mi yapmış, Copernicus devam ettirmiş ama bu da geliştirmiş mi? Models of Planetary Motion by Modifying. Al-Tusi ve Al-Shatter daha önceden yaşamış o zaman. Copernicus da bunları matematik modelini geliştirmiş. Yılın uzunluğu ve güneşin ve ayın hareketi ile ilgili doğrulamalar yapmış. Yani yazalım şuraya yıl uzunluğu the movement of the sun and moon, güneş ve dünyanın hareketi. Improved mathematical models. Matematik modellerini geliştirmiş diyelim. Matematik model geliştirmiş. İyi veriler sunmuş ve gezegenler hareketinin modelini geliştirmiş. Copernican solar system, one of the greatest problems that Copernicus faced was that to get the math to work. So it's an issue that he has confronted. One of the greatest problems that, get math to work. That's what Archimedes did actually back then. He did his experiments, using with calculus, explained by calculus. So according to his model, the Earth had to have 2 moments around the Sun around its axis. So this is his model here. Where is the Sun? Where is the so Copernicus proposed this. The Earth turns around its axis and turns around the Sun. So that's actually a geocentric model, right? Is it geocentric or heliocentric? I don't remember. Mathematician lived during the Reformation. Where was it? Charles Cannonball built out too. Oh, it was no, it was heliocentric model. So the Earth was not the Sun was centered. Copernicus writes these. Neler hakkında çatışmalar olmuş? Neler hakkında çatışmalar olmuş? Whatever motion appears in the firmament arises. I don't know what this word called. Firmament. Firmament ne demek? How many minutes? 10 minutes. Gökyüzü veya gök kubbe. But from the Earth's motion, the Earth, together with its circumjacent elements, performs a complete rotation on its fixed poles in a dual motion, while the firmament and highest heaven abide unchanged. There is lots of words that I don't know, like circumjacent. I don't know if it's spelled like that. Spell like that. Telaffuz etmek. Neydi ya telaffuz etmek? Telaffuz etmek İngilizcesi telaffuz etmek. Pronunciation. Şöyle manzara bakalım. Şuraya okumuştuk. Buraya bakalım. Maske İngilizce mas, denizcilik terimi, telekomünikasyon ve yayıncılık, zooloji, direkt anten, maske farklı yazılış. What appear to us motions of the sun arise not from its motion, but from the motion of the earth and earth's sphere, with which we revolve about the sun like any other planet. The earth has then more than one motion. So it has more than one motion and we revolve about the sun like any other planet, and we revolve about our axis. Kendi eksen etrafımızda ve güneşin etrafında dönüyoruz. Bunu Copernicus yazmış. The apparent retrograde and direct motion of the planets arises not from their motion but from the earth. The motion of the earth alone therefore suffices to explain so many suffices to explain so many apparent inequalities in the heavens. Cennet ne alaka? There is no center of all the classical circles or sphere, assuming no other solar system, finite universe with fixed stars at the background. It's not infinite, it's infinite. It's infinite universe with fixed stars at the background. There's no one center of all the classical circles or spheres. Classical circles or spheres, assuming he assumed that no other solar systems, or is it the issue he faced? I don't know. The center of the Earth is not the center of the universe, but only of the gravity and of the lunar sphere. But only of gravity and of the hem yer çekimi hem de dünya ay küresinin merkeziymiş. Ay aslında dünyaya doğru mu çökmek istiyor? Copernican model. All the spheres revolve around the sun as their midpoint, and therefore the sun is the center of the universe. Closer objects circle faster around the sun than the farther ones. Bu L eşittir I çarpı V bildiğimiz. Yakınlaştıkça hızlanıyor. Bunu sormuş Kopernik'in. Yakınlaştıkça daha hızlanır, uzaklaştıkça daha az yavaşlar. No other solar systems he faced. No, başka bir güneş sistemi yok. Belirli sayıda sınırlı bir gezegen yapısından bahsediyor. Ve dünyanın merkezi gezegen evrenin merkezi olmadığını bahsediyor. Ama yalnızca yer çekiminin ve ay küresinin yer çekiminin dünyaya olduğunu, dünyanın orada merkez olduğunu söylüyor. 4 tane var. Gözünü kapatıp söyleyebilir miyim acaba? Söylüyor. Başka gezegen sistemleri yok. Sınırlı sayıda yıldız var. Arka planda. Sonra dördüncüsü yakınlaştıkça hızlanır, uzaklaştıkça yavaşlar. Üçüncüsü yok. İkincisi neydi? İkincisi şeydi. İkincisi Güneşin evrenin merkezi olduğunu söylüyor ama dünyanın yer çekiminin ve o lunar sefirinin merkezi olduğunu söylüyor. Değil mi? Aynen. Üçüncüsü de üçüncüsüne baktım da biraz. Güneş dışındaki bütün küreler, gezegenler mi, küreler mi artık neyse, Güneşin etrafında dolanıyor. Bu yüzden de Güneş gezegenin merkeziymiş. Evrenin merkeziymiş. The Gregorian calendar. The Julian calendar, established by Julius Caesar, divided the year into exactly 265 25 days. This is slightly too long and caused Easter and other holidays to slowly drift forward. Holidays were important to church and they needed to compute it correctly. Copernicus was invited to Roma to try to produce a more accurate calendar. The Julian calendar has 3 consecutive years of 365 days, each followed by a leap year of 366 days, making the year average 365.25 days. The Gregorian calendar 365.24 days was approved by Papa Gregory in 1582 based upon Copernicus calculations. Papa Gregory tarafından da onaylanmış bu. Onun sunumuna sunmuş herhalde. Julian kalender'daki o hatayı çözüyor. Anladım. Tam küsuratı hesaplıyor, anladım. Gardiner Bruno 1548-1600 Champion of Copernicus model. Bruno, an astronomer and mathematician, believed and thought that Copernicus was right. He improved Copernicus by claiming the sun was just another star. There are other solar systems. So Copernicus claimed that there is no other solar systems and there is finite universe and fixed stars at background. The church ordered him to stop teaching these ideas, and when he didn't, the Inquisition lured him to Venice and got killed. According to Bruno, truth does not change because it is believed or not believed by the majority of the people. İnsanların çoğu tarafından bilinse de bilinmese de gerçek hiçbir zaman değişmez. Anlaşmazlıklar neymiş? Conflict with the church over Copernican astronomy chronicles the world is firmly established, it cannot be moved firmly. Psalm, the world is established firm and secure, God set the earth on its foundations. It can never be moved. So that's what church, assuming it is. Ecclesiastes. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. Güneş doğar ve güneş batar. Hurry'ler. Hurry ne demek bilmiyorum. Bunu da altını. Geri kalktığı yere yükselir. Tissue brush. Bra. Tissue's observations over 30 years were so accurate that modern instruments and telescopes have largely confirmed his measurements. To determine the velocity of a body, he used a fixed star as an independent reference point. Due to stellar parallax, there should be shift in the position of stars. Shift. Yani boşluk mu? Ne demek? Bakalım. However, 6 months of observation did not yield any detectable angular difference. Hence, he concluded that Earth is stationary. Buna bakacağım ama bunları hence ne demekti ya? Hence'e bak, 5. bakışım ya. Hence. İngilizceden Türkçe. Bundan dolayı yani. Therefore gibi anladım. He concluded that Earth is stationary. Stationary nasıl okunuyor? Stationary. Taisho observation over 30 years were so accurate that modern instruments and telescopes have largely confirmed his measurement. To determine the velocity of a body, he used a fixed stars as an independent reference point. He used a fixed star as an independent reference point. Due to stellar parallax, there should be shift in the position. Demek ya bakalım. Yıldızların konumunda bir kayma olmalıdır. Yıldız paralaksı. Late in his life, Tycho realized that he wouldn't be able to analyze the vast amount of data he had collected. Vast amount of data. Ya vast ne demek? Vast. Çok mu? Az mı? He recruited Johannes Kepler, a German mathematician, to assist him in the calculations. Kepler'i bahsettik mi ya? Kepler'den önce Kopernik'ten bahsettik. Kopernik'ten sonra ikinci bilim adamı Gregorian'dan bahsettik. Gordino Bruno'dan bahsettik. Gordino Bruno buna karşı çıkıyor, diyor ki Güneş başka bir yıldızdır diyor. Ama Kopernikus diyor ki dünya başka şeyler yoktur diyor. Başka neler yoktur diyor. Başka solar sistem yoktur diyor. Çok büyük miktarda veri. Recreate ne demek? Recreated adını şuna bakacağım. Recreated işe alınmış. Johannes Kepler işe alıyor 1571 aynı zamanda. Johannes Kepler, because of the spin of the Earth and a universe of the perfect circles made sense from a geocentric perspective, but in a geocentric world, there is a big problem with Mars. Kepler was able to make the orbit of Mars circle within 8 minutes of arc, but Tycho's observations were accurate within 4 minutes of arc. 4 minutes of arc. Arc ne demek? Of arc. 4 dakikalık yay. But in a geocentric world, there is a big problem with Mars. Kepler was able to make the orbit of Mars circle within 8 minutes. Finally, he said to himself, "Let's go with the sun," and he gave up all attempts to find the circle motion independent from the sun, the center. He gave up all attempts to find a circular motion independent And he gave up all. Gave up. Pes etmek anlamında mı kullanmış ki? Yapıştır. Kaç dakika olmuş? 25 dakika. Şu slaytı hızlıca bitirek o zaman. Tarihsel bir hareket bulma yönelik tüm girişimlerinden vazgeçti. Güneşi merkez almaktan bağımsız. Güneşi bir merkez olarak almaktan bağımsız. Dairesel elliptic motion. Kepler, like Archimedes, had divided the circle into infinitely many triangles to find the ratio between the circumference and diameter of the circle. So that's the thing that I talked about the first section of the lecture. Archimedes also using the calculus. Because of Archimedes, I got -4 point. Because I didn't include the calculus. I did all I want, all he did, but since the word of calculus, I didn't include that. It was -point. Anyways, presuming. Abi nasıl okunuyor bu? Presuming that Mars orbited the Sun, Kepler divided the observed orbit of Mars into triangles. Then he calculated the time it took Mars to pass through given segments of the arc. What he discovered was that Tycho's data were not consistent with a circular orbit, but they were consistent with an elliptical orbit. Cosmic whirlpool, an elliptical movement suggested that some kind of force acted on the planets, a force that was weaker with greater distance from the Sun. Kepler's solution was ingenious. He postulated that the Sun rotated, creating a vortex. Vortex ne demek? Girdap. Güneş girdap oluşturuyormuş. Bunun postulasyonu oluşturuyormuş. A cosmic whirlpool that carried the planets with it. Then he learned about magnetism and the theories of the Earth's magnetism. Kepler nasıl? Kepler nasıl okuyorsun lan? Kepler reasoned that if the Earth and the other planets were large magnets, then the Sun was probably a large magnet, and thus what held the universe together was the simultaneous attraction and repelling of the various magnets on each other. And thus what held the universe together was the simultaneous attraction and aynı anda gerçekten etkileşimler ve repelling. İtici. Orbital time starting in 1609, Kepler published his laws of motion that he had extracted from Tycho's data. First law, the law of ellipses. Planets are orbiting the Sun in a path described as an ellipse, but not circular thing. Circular orbit. Elliptic motion. Who was discovering that? Kepler? Johannes Kepler discovered that Tycho's data were not consistent with a circular orbit, but they were consistent with elliptical orbit. Second law, the law of equal areas. The speed at which any planet moves through a space is constantly changing. A planet moves fastest when it is close to the Sun and slowest when it is furthest from the Sun. Yet, if an imaginary line were drawn from the center of the planet to the center of the Sun, that line would sweep out the same area in equal. Tamam. Aynı açılarla aynı şey tarar. İlk kuralı, Güneş etrafında gezegenler eliptik yörüngede dolanır. Sonra eşit açılarla eşit zamanlar tanınır. Second law of harmonies. The law of harmonies provides an accurate description of the period and distance for the planet's orbits about the Sun. Additionally, the same law that describes the tek kare bölü recube ratio for the planet's orbit about the sun also accurately describes the tek kare bölü recube for ratio for any satellite. Recube ve tek kare oranı sahip. Ben bu sorunun nereden geldiğini merak etmiştim. Hocaya sormuştum sırttayken. Bana başka bir cevap vermişti. Neyse. Galileo Galilei 1564-1642 Galileo's incursive mind would lead him in directions that clashed with the prevailing culture. Incursive neydi ya? Incursive dini nedenler değil mi? En başta gördüğüm şey değil mi? Prevail işte. Incursive ne demek? Saat 9:30. Allah'ım inşallah çok kadar da sürmez. Meraklı ve sorgulayıcı anlamına gelir. Galileo's incursive mind will lead him in direction that clash with the prevailing culture. He conflicted Aristoteles and put forward alternative approaches. On motion in 1583, he observed the motions of pendulums, nothing. Nothing. Nothing'i nasıl okuyorsunuz lan? Nothing. Noring.
Noting.
Noring.
Noting.
Noring. Noting.
Noting.
Noring. Noring. I noted that. Noring. Noring. Abi ne bu?
Noting.
Nor.
Noting.
Noring. That the time of one swing was independent of the height from which the pendulum started to swing. Pendulum lock, invented by Dutch scientist Christian Huygens, was inspired by investigations of pendulums by Galileo. Galileo discovered that the period of swing of pendulum is approximately the same for different sized swings. 2pi bölü L. 2pi L bölü 2pi çarpı kök L bölü G. The pendulum swings with a period that varies with the square root of its effective length. The introduction of the pendulum, the first harmonic oscillator used in timekeeping, increased the accuracy of clocks enormously, from about 50 minutes per day to 15 seconds per day. On motion. By 1586, Galileo started formulating the laws of falling bodies. He built inclined planes and rolled balls down them to observe their acceleration. Galileo determined that motion is independent of weight. It accelerates at constant rate. Inclined planes. Inclined. On motion, the speed of rolling balls was programmed. They fell, they descended. He tried the different angles of inclined planes and mathematical mistake the same 90 degrees. Watch, visit antrenörü gradually izleriz bunu. Galileo's antrenörü Galileo explained tidal motion in the first clear expression of his belief in the Copernican system of heliocentricity. Tidal motion. What does it mean? Tidal motion. Abi telaffuz etmenin İngilizcesi neydi? Pronouncing ya.
Tidal motion.
Gel git hareketi. His belief in it. Galileo built his own telescope, which he made amazing series of discoveries, magnified 30 times. The moon had craters, mountains, and valleys. Jupiter had 4 moons orbiting it in a equatorial plane. Abi, equatorial plane. Ekvator düzlemi. The Milky Way was composed of hundreds of unknown stars. Venus had phases just like the moon. There were dark spots on the sun. 2 chef-wall systems. He wrote the dialogue concerning the 2 chef-wall systems, Aristotelian and Copernican. The dialogue initially passed papal censorship, was published in 1632, distributed, and quickly became a bestseller. His ideas were not appreciated by the Vatican. The Reformation was well underway and the Church was sensitive to criticism of any kind. real or implied. Conflict with the church. Galileo's conflict with the Catholic Church has become a symbol. Ya ben telaffuzlara niye takılıyorum ya?
Symbol.
Galileo was nerede kalmıştık? Has become a symbol of the conflict between science and religion. Galileo was condemned by Inquisition in 1633, was forced to renounce his theories, forbidden to publish his books, and placed under house arrest for the remain of his life. Çok böyle bilinmeyen kelimeler var ya. Condemned. Kınandı. Renounce. Geri kaldırmaktır bu ya. Renounce. Vazgeçmek. Cancel demeyince neyse. Galileo believed he was defending the church against great embarrassment and potential disbelief, where observation and empirical evidence disputed authority.
Authority. Authority. Authority. Authority.
Authority.
Authority. Authority.
Galileo believed he was defending the church against great embarrassment and potential disbelief, where observation and empirical evidence disputed authority. Galileo believed that authority should give way, even if that authority were Aristotle or the church or scriptures themselves. Revolution of science beginning. While Galileo is not an eunuch, he came to symbolize a novel view at the beginning of what would be called the scientific revolution. From Galileo's perspective, mathematics not only provided the best understanding of nature, but in many instances the only understanding of nature. If one could not understand the language of mathematics, one could not discover nature. Transition to experimental science. It was a transition that did not happen quickly, but was punctuated. Punctuated. Lafını kesmek. Punctuated by important technological developments. The invention of the telescope and the microscope and accurate devices for measuring temperature, pressure, and time, in addition, increased knowledge of mathematics also played a role in the development of experimental science. Video çok uzun oldu. Durağımda yüklemeye çalışacağım. Bir dinleyeceğim nasıl olmuş diye.